your dedication and devotion to this party and to the diversity that is such an important part of the fabric of our country, and of ensuring that we have policies in America that ensure, like President Obama has made a priority, that everyone in America has an opportunity to be successful, not just the people who already are. That is really one of the clear distinctions and the path forward in this election. And I'm so proud to be here with the Ethnic National Committee, a committee that we have made a priority at the Democratic National Committee, an organization and a rich tapestry of ethnic groups and organizations that are part of making sure that we carry Barack Obama back to the White House for a second term. The privilege, as I've traveled the country on behalf of President Obama, of sitting down with so many different organizations that make up the Ethnic National Committee, and we know that it is so important in an election, especially that we know will be close, that everybody is in the game, that everybody's engaged. And we know that in critical states with larger ethnic populations, that can be the key difference. Making sure that we mobilize ethnic communities across this country will be the key difference in states like Ohio, in states like Pennsylvania, in states like my home state. It is incredibly important. So know that you are valued and that you are valuable. And we know that over the next 64 days, that's all that's left, 64 days. At the end of this convention, it'll be 2 months to Election Day. That is hard to believe. We have so much at stake. We could go back to the failed policies of the past that nearly crashed our economy and got us into the worst economic crisis that any of us have faced since the Great Depression. We could go back, as Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan want to, because they have a love affair with those policies, that the trickle-down economics that has been tried and failed, that says that we should expand tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires and ask the middle class to pay for them. The budget-busting tax breaks that exploded our deficit. That we should end Medicare as we know it and turn it into a voucher system and shred that healthcare safety net. Leave senior citizens with a floor with a big hole in it that says, we're going to let you go medically bankrupt again and figure out on your own how you're going to take care of your healthcare. Don't believe Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan when they say that their plan doesn't affect seniors now, because it does. Hell yes, it does. It does it by reopening the donut hole, because they would repeal Obamacare. And remember, Obama does care. That's why we embrace that term. It would repeal the Medicare prescription drug donut hole so that a senior in South Florida, like the one that stood up in a town hall meeting, set up something like this, who told me that thanks to Obamacare, thanks to the fact that we closed the donut hole, she doesn't have to ask the pharmacist to cut her pills in half anymore, so she can break them in half and double the length of time that prescription lasts. And I don't have to stand online behind one more senior who, when 5 or 6 prescriptions come to the counter, she has to leave 2 or 3 of them behind because she can't afford to take them all home. And we know that we have a president in the White House committed to an immigration policy that ensures that we have a diversity in this country, and people from all walks of life and from every background contributing to the success of America. Now, I have just come last week from a series of events put on by our friends on the other side of the aisle that were essentially a special interest-funded, corporate-infused, backroom deal, smoke-filled room series of affairs that were invitation only, by the way. And this week will show the American people a hugely participatory, inclusive, community-oriented event, starting with today when we put on Carolina Fest, a community festival that celebrates the Carolinas and Virginia, that shows the American people that they can be a part of renominating and re-electing our president, and that anybody should be able to participate who wants to. And we'll finish the week with President Obama accepting our party's nomination for a second term at the Bank of America Stadium in front of tens of thousands of Americans. And what we know from the last election, when President Obama accepted our party's nomination in Invesco Field, We signed up 25,000 volunteers that night. We know that we use these conventions now as an organizing tool to get people involved. And we know that over the next 64 days, we're going to need you to be more involved than you've ever been before. So I'm going to ask you to do one thing for me, beyond work harder than you've ever worked before. And that is that you part with what is, I know, your most precious resource. Because the other side thinks it's your money. The other side thinks that funding campaigns through opaque super PACs with a handful of millionaires and billionaires trying to buy the White House from Mitt Romney, they think that that's the way to go. We know that your most important resource is your time. We know that we're going to need a lot of it. So over the next 64 days, pull out your calendars for us. Make sure that you give us a part of each one of those 64 days. So that when we wake up on the morning of November 7th, we know that we did everything we could to ensure that the headline in every one of our hometown papers says, Barack Obama re-elected to a second term as president.